Hello everyone, today's video is just going to be a short demonstration / tutorial. It's going to be a postcard size landscape painting using my regular landscape palette, and it's all going to be done with one brush. So the colours in my landscape palette are Indian Red, Light Oxide Red, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Blue Red shade, Cobalt Blue, Payne's Grey, Raw Umber, and I have Cadmium Yellow Lemon and Cadmium Red medium. Okay, I'm going to start by pre-wetting all of my paints, as I forgot to do it earlier. I wanted to say about the raw umber that I use. It's Rembrandt's old version and it's very yellow, so you'd probably be better off using a raw sienna or a yellow ochre. The brush I'm going to be using is one I got from AliExpress. It's made by Zytang and it's a travel brush. It's number 10 size. It has a pretty nice tip and holds a good amount of water. It's supposed to be squirrel hair, but is it? Who knows. I've had it maybe over a year now and it's held up pretty well. Okay, let's start the painting. I'm going to begin by painting some raw umber into the sky. You don't have to be too careful about this, it's more just to take some of the white out of the paper. And then for the sky colour, I'm going to mix some Phthalo Blue Red shade and Cobalt Blue. Then for the mountain in the background, I'm going to add a touch of Indian Red to the blue mixture I already have. While you're painting the mountain in, take care not to paint over any of the house. Now while the mountain's still wet, I'm going to paint in the distant trees. To do this, mix some Phthalo Blue and Cadmium Yellow Lemon and add a touch of light red just to neutralise it a bit. Now I'm going to add some Payne's Grey. This is to darken the mix, to paint the base of the tree line and to add some shadows. Now I'm just going to repeat the same thing for the trees on the other side of the house. Here I'm just using a clean damp brush to lift out some paint where the tree trunk is going to be. When doing this, make sure you've squeezed all the water out of your brush, otherwise you could get cauliflowers. Now I'm adding some of the lemon yellow to the green mixture we already have. This is to create a lighter green that's going to be for the bushes between the house and the viewer. Now I'm painting in the bush and I'm going to try and leave some white space where the tree trunk is. I'm also going to add a little bit of raw umber and light red here and there to add some variation. So that's the grass done. Now I'm going to use some raw umber to paint in the driveway. Now I'm using the lemon yellow, cobalt blue and Payne's grey to paint in the shadows at the base of the bushes. Now mix some light oxide red with a little burnt sienna and use it to paint the roof of the house. I want to try and add a bit more texture and variation to the bushes on the left hand side. I'm going to use some Cobalt Blue and some Payne's Grey and some light red. So that's giving it a bit more contrast and brings it forward a bit. So now I'm going to use some raw umber to paint in the tree trunk. And then I'm going to use some burnt sienna and Payne's Grey to mix a darker brown and then paint in the shadow side of the tree. So while I'm waiting for the tree trunk to dry, I'm going to paint in the shadow side of the house. I'm going to mix a muted purple from Indian Red, Phthalo Blue red shade with a little bit of Cobalt Blue. Before I start on the tree foliage, I'm going to use some of the muted green mixture we already had. That was lemon yellow, cobalt blue and Payne's Grey, just to paint some texture over the driveway. Now it's time to start painting the foliage. As the light is coming from the left hand side, you want to start with the green being brighter on the left hand side of the tree and then getting darker as you move to the shadow side. So I'm going to start out on the left hand side with a mixture of lemon yellow and cobalt blue, but I'm going to neutralize the green a little bit with some raw umber, otherwise the green is just too bright. And as I move more towards the shadow side of the tree, I'm going to add some burnt sienna and some Payne's Grey. Okay, so that's a good start to the tree. I'm probably going to add some more darks to it once it's dry. Now I want to paint the shadow cast by the tree, so I'm going to mix some phthalo blue with some Indian red to create an almost black. I'm also going to use the same mixture to darken the shadow side of the tree trunk. And here I'm just using some clean water to soften the shadow a little. I'm also going to use the same mixture to paint in some shadows from the bushes and maybe some unseen trees out of frame. I think the shadow side of the house is a bit too light, so I'm going to use the same mixture to darken it. I also want to make the tree trunk and branches a lot darker, and maybe add some shadows to the foliage. I think I'll just use some Payne's Grey for this. I think I want to paint in another tree on the right hand side of the house. So this is going to be the same process as for the other tree. I'm going to start off by painting the tree trunk with a dark brown. So that's a burnt sienna and Payne's Grey mix. And then I'm going to use various mixes of green, moving from the lighter side and getting darker as you move to the right. Mix some more Indian Red and Phthalo Blue. This is going to be for the shadow cast by the house. I still feel like the shadow side of the house is too light, so I'm going to bring that shadow colour up into the base of the house a little. Here I'm just using some burnt sienna to add a bit of definition between the grass and the driveway. And now using some Payne's grey, I'm going to paint the shadows under the roof. I think the sunlit side of the trees could do with being a bit lighter, so I think I'm going to add some lemon yellow and see how it looks. I'm going to use a little Payne's grey to darken the roof on the right hand side of the house. It's in shadow, so it should be darker. I should be coming to the end of the painting soon, so I'm going to use some Payne's grey to paint in the windows. And while I'm at it, I can darken a few shadows here and there. What colour should I paint the door? I think the Cadmium Red might be a bit too much, so I'll just go with the light Oxide Red. I'm still not totally happy with the contrast in the trees, so I'm going to boost the highlights a bit with some more lemon yellow and use some Payne's grey to darken the shadows. I think I want the tree trunk and branches to stand out a little bit more than they do. So I think I'm going to use some white gouache and paint in some highlights on the left hand side. It might end up looking a bit weird, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, looks a bit strange, but it's fun to experiment, right? Okay, so the final few bits will be using Indian Red and Phthalo Blue mix to deepen some shadows on the ground. And then using some white gouache to add a bit of detail to the windows. And there you go, all done. Took a little longer than I was expecting, but came out okay. Hopefully it was easy enough to follow along with what I was doing. If not, then I'll try to improve it next time. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.